So, welcome to the first podcast. It's quite a special day today that I'm doing a first podcast with my first guest, Emily from Lunar Circle. Welcome, Emily. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, I'm just going to introduce Emily a little bit and then I'm going to pass over to Emily to tell us all about herself. So, Emily has over 17 years' experience teaching and facilitating training in movement, meditation, and personal development. She's led workshops internationally, produced sold out entertainment events for top London venues, and collaborated with amazing brands such as Lululemon, Neom Organics, and Move Your Frame. Amazing, Emily. With her company Lunar Circle, she delivers sessions on meditation and manifestation, as well as providing intuitive soul readings. Lunar Circle runs regular wellness events across the UK, and I'm going to let Emily talk about that a little bit at the end of the session as well, about one of her upcoming events. So I first met Emily in person, it was a couple of months ago, I think, wasn't it now? Was it March?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe March.
Yeah.
I think it was March.
Yeah, so we met at one of the Little Wedding Hub events where we were both giving sessions. By the way, the Little Wedding Hub is an amazing community. If you're in the wedding industry, I strongly recommend you go and check them out, because if you don't know them already, they are absolutely amazing. It's fantastic support and community, and it's definitely well worth checking out. I will put the link to them in the show notes as well, so you can find them. But anyway, Emily and I met there, and she gave these most wonderful meditation sessions at the beginning and end of the day, which I just fell in love with. And I instantly wanted to share her with all of my podcast listeners so that you can reap the benefits of her wonderfulness too. So that was a little bit about you, Emily. It's always a bit weird hearing about yourself like that, isn't it?
Yeah, really odd.
But you've had obviously a really interesting and eclectic career to date. So just like flesh that out a little bit for us. Tell me a little bit more about your background and what led you to actually founding your business in there. Because obviously you've worked with all these amazing companies. You've obviously had a successful career. What sort of prompted you to want to start learning creating your own business?
Lovely. Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. It is always weird to hear about yourself like that. It's really strange. But thank you. And I'm glad you really enjoyed the meditations. It was so lovely to meet you all the way back in March. And yeah, I think you're right. I have had a very eclectic career over the years, but I feel like everything I've done has kind of led me to this point when I look back at all the different careers I've kind of had, all the kind of different pathways that kind of led me here. So I guess I'll start at the beginning, and I'll try not to waffle on too much, but
no, really my background. I do it a lot.
Okay, perfect. Technically, my background actually is in movement. So I trained way back when as a dancer and performer. And my first love was kind of dance and musical theatre. And I was really kind of, in love and really passionate about, like moving my body. I wanted to be, on the West End stage. And I did that for a while. I kind of worked after studying, getting my degree as a dancer and as like a theatre performer. I worked as an actress actually for a good few years, as well as working kind of on camera. Doing a lot of commercial work, like commercials, like things like KFC adverts and all that kind of crazy stuff. And it was an amazing time, but it was full on, quite, draining. And at the same time, I kind of started building up a teaching career alongside. I always taught. I kind of taught dance to kids as well as adults, as well as I also did a lot of kind of training and development work. When I was kind of working as an actor, I would travel internationally, and I would I kind of lead personal development workshops, which I really enjoyed actually, basically helping people to present better and to kind of become more confident. So that was kind of all happening at the same time during my 20s. And as well as actually, I've always been quite a creative person. I was also writing quite a lot. I kind of wrote my own shows and short films, also produced events, as you mentioned, kind of like
really are very multi-talented. This is amazing.
Yeah, I like a bit of everything.
Over the years,
I've always kind of had that creative streak. And then I got to the point where I was like, I actually really love teaching, and that's what I want to put my focus into. And then I took a role at Move Your Frame, where you mentioned earlier, which is a big kind of studio in London. They got 6 studios, and they do have Pilates and dance and fitness. And I took on a role there as kind of head of bar and dance, and kind of headed up a massive team of instructors and led a lot of training and development there, kind of teaching all the instructors and that was and also still taught at the same time. So that was up until the pandemic, to be honest. And then I've
Sure.
always had a very, so kind of everything kind of like most of us, right?
Yeah,
Everything from
it's been a bit of a pivotal
2020.
moment for a lot of people, hasn't it? That just
Yeah,
sort of
definitely.
reassessment of what you want to be doing and how you do it.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, completely. And so the pandemic hit, and then, I went from teaching across 6 different studios, running all over London. And I'm from London originally, born and bred, running all over London, getting up at 5 in the morning and teaching all day, and to the point where I finally stopped and I was furloughed for six months of that first lockdown, which I'm actually quite grateful for.
Quite a long
And
time, actually. 6 months
yeah,
time, isn't it? Yeah.
very long time. And I still did a little bit of teaching kind of like for family and friends in that time, because I kind of, as you can probably can tell from my career, I can't really sit still. I've been trying. Well, obviously now I teach meditation, so I do like to sit
Coming full
still.
circle, literally.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So that's been part of my practice, is learning how to sit still, and
It's not my forte,
but I
I'll admit
love to kind of, as you can
either.
probably tell, like be, yeah. Yeah, so I love to be creative and have fingers in lots of different pies. But I've always been a very spiritual person. I grew up in a very spiritual household. My mum works, amongst many things, like a psychic medium, so that's always been a very big part of my life. And I've been meditating seriously for the last 4 or 5 years, and been developing my own kind of manifestation practice and wellness practices for a long time. And suddenly I got to the point where I thought, I want to really just delve into this a bit deeper. And actually, the pandemic allowed me to do that. It's helped me slow down. And I
Yeah.
started kind of just then from there, thought like, then Lunar Circle kind of just came out of nowhere. It wasn't really the plan to launch a business, even
The
though
very
I've
best
kind of
ones
over the
never
years.
are, though, I don't think, are they? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I have actually launched, amongst, all the other things I've mentioned. I said I was going to keep this short, but it's
No,
never
no,
short.
no.
Um,
It's really interesting to hear. I think it's really helpful for people
yeah,
that are just beginning their businesses as well to see how things can kind of come into being in lots of different ways. And yeah.
completely. Yeah, I actually in the past have also launched like a kids dance party business. I also launched like another events company. So I think it's made me realize that actually I learned so much from those experiences. And I think at heart, my friends say that you're a hustler at heart, really, like you're meant to be, a creative. When I was at Frame, I was on like a full-time salary for a year. And actually, I don't, even though that security was wonderful, in essence, it's not really me, I don't think. So yeah, I kind of, Lunar Circle just happened as almost like a hobby. I was like, I got some of my girlfriends together, started doing women's circles, and then launched a kind of an Instagram, but just as a hobby. But then after, during the pandemic, we decided to move, my partner and I, we moved from London to Bristol. And so something I can't explain it, Kate. I just had this urge and this calling just to kind of launch everything into it. And then Lunar Cycle was born, basically. And that
Amazing.
leads me to here.
No,
Yeah.
but I think that's really amazing, and I think it's really interesting because to hear that, because I mean I've done very very different jobs to you, but it's that similar kind of that I think that like the lockdowns kind of forced me to really reassess what I wanted to be doing and gave me the opportunity to try things that in a normal sort of course of events that maybe I wouldn't have tried, and then the
Mm,
passion for what I was doing, especially like with my photography, just sort of really took off. And then, like, I was just like, no, this is what I want to be doing. And, a bit like you, I just kind of threw myself into it really wholeheartedly. And,
mm,
I think it's really interesting, isn't it, how many people that's kind of happened to, that I think having that
yeah.
space to actually explore something that maybe would have seemed a bit too risky maybe beforehand, or not the logical choice perhaps, but having that time that
Mm,
lockdowns kind of forced us into, to I guess just reflect on everything a little bit, and have actually take that time. And because I just don't think there's any other instance in life where you really ever sort of gifted that time. If you want to, you have to kind of create it for yourself normally, which many
yeah.
of us don't do because life gets so busy, doesn't it? And we just do
Yeah.
without necessarily really thinking it through or planning it through. So I think
Yeah.
certainly a lot of people that I've spoken to, I know so many of my friends in the creative industries have had made massive changes or completely changed, the core of what they offer, or, have started entirely new businesses like you've done. And, I think it's really fascinating to me. I would love like maybe in like 10 years to kind of do like a look back at, where everybody is, like what they were doing before the pandemic, what the pandemic
Yeah.
kind of pushed them into, and whether they sort of stayed with those changes or gone back, or, it's really
Yeah.
fascinating kind of evolution of the working practices, and, how we approach our
Completely.
working life. I don't think anybody wants to be in the office 5 days a week anymore. I
No.
can't see that that's a model that ever we're going to return to, now that we've had a taste of all this freedom. It's sort
Yes.
of, it's I don't think you can kind of put people back in those boxes again, can you, in the same way? So
No.
anyway, I'm
No.
getting off topic very
Absolutely.
much as well here, but I
So
find
interesting, though. I
it
do.
really
Yeah.
interesting. um, so obviously you've had like all these big changes. You've got this beautiful, beautiful business, Lunar Circle, which I absolutely adore. Um, so what kind of clients do you work with now, and what do they sort of tend to come to you for? Like, what's the kind of drivers for why people might sort of
Mm.
come to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about, I guess generally people are just come to me very stressed. I hate to say it, but people like generally come and they're quite like stressed and they're worn down. And actually, I find in a way the pandemic obviously gave us a chance to slow down. People were kind of out of sorts during the pandemic, and then in a way we've been hurtled back into like must be back at the office X amount of times a week. We must be doing this. We must be busy. We must be going to all these weddings, etc. And I feel like people are just quite burnt out. And so a lot of the time I feel like people come to me just because they want some help kind of fitting some wellness into their schedule. They want help kind of just finding a bit more peace and calm. And in a way, I think they quite like, because I have a mixture of kind of like clients who come to me just for meditation or come for me for more like the one-on-one readings, like you mentioned. A lot of the time, just by having it in the diary, it just helps them stick,
Yeah.
to some sort of wellness regime. Yeah. So I find that generally that's yeah, I mean, like, I think that's broadly speaking that's just most people at the moment, sadly,
No,
but yeah, so it's
I
yeah.
think it's really common, isn't it? I think it's been such an emotional roller coaster, hasn't it? And
Mm,
that, like you say, that kind of thrust back into, in quotes, sort of normal life. And it's
mm,
quite a big adjustment, I think, and I think actually it was something that we were chatting about, wasn't it? Actually at the hub
mm,
event together, was especially with some children as well, that difficulty kind of getting back into those scenarios where you're in, rooms of big people. And certainly I found the Little Wedding Hub was like absolutely incredible, but I strangely had a lot of nerves about going and attending again. It was the
mm,
first time I'd been in a room with more than the six,
mm,
people for,
mm,
over 2 years. And I'm not particularly nervous in those kind of scenarios normally. Like, previous to the pandemic, I was always holding workshops, going to events.
mm,
I wouldn't say that I was a massive extrovert or anything like that in those kind of scenarios, but I didn't find
mm,
them immensely stressful or, anxiety driving. Whereas for that week leading up to the hub, I
yeah.
was like, oh, I'm going to have to go and speak to people, and I have to deliver these little mini workshops. And I was thinking, can I still
Mm,
do it? Am I still,
yeah.
can I deliver something that's of, the kind of value and quality that I used to, because I just
Mm,
have not done it in a really long time. And I think
yeah.
that kind of, I can really see why that would drive you to seek out somebody like you to help with those kind of peaks and troughs of stress and
Yeah.
anxiety of returning to, as I say, those in quotes, normal life. I don't know that it's ever going to be normal in this. I don't think we can ever return to
Mm,
the way it was before. I think it is going to be different, but I think with that comes a lot of anxiety and stress as well, doesn't it? Like not
yes.
knowing what life is going to be like for us in the next year, the next 2 years, and there's lots of other pressures now, of course,
Mm,
not just the pandemic in the UK, isn't there? But
yeah.
I can really see how having somebody that can help you manage that would be so valuable. And
Yes,
so,
it really is. I completely agree. I think and so I think you're right. It's kind of like, yeah, either I have people who come to me quite stressed and anxious, or people actually, come to me quite lost, to be honest. I think maybe they don't quite realize that they're lost, but sometimes I feel like it's helpful to have an event like a women's circle, and I can explain a little bit about kind of what that entails, I suppose, if you like. But
yeah, me too. Yeah, go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So a women's circle, they're kind of more like kind of my general events that I do, kind of like my public events. And essentially, it's just an evening. I can do them majority for women, but I do them for all genders. And generally they're a chance for people to kind of just relax and reset, and we do meditation, we do kind of journaling exercises, we do a lot of kind of sharing, which sometimes people can be like, oh god, we've got to share, but it's always very kind of guided by me, kind of
That
very
always
short and
drives me. That
sweet.
always gives me massive anxiety when.
Yeah, I know, even I do, but I know, yeah, I know. It's funny because as soon as you say it, people can tell people like, oh gosh, but it's always very small amount of the event. But I always find it so powerful because actually, when you hear often what someone else is going through, it actually makes you realize actually I'm going through something similar, or it makes you feel
A
better
common
about.
experience is a really, really,
Yeah,
really, really powerful thing, I think.
absolutely. So, and just sometimes just giving yourself an hour and a half to sit down and think about how am I feeling today, or think about what do I want to achieve this month or this year. It can be really powerful. So I think, yeah, it's a mixture of kind of helping people get through stress and anxiety, and also just kind of giving them the space. I don't really give them the guidance, I just allow people, or I hold space for people just to discover a little bit more about what they want out of life, I'd say.
Yeah, so
So yeah.
it's really lovely to be able to give people, as a protected opportunity that's, in that kind of protective space, and you're not. It's like that lack of judgment, isn't it? I think, and
Mm,
in other scenarios, you're very unwilling to share in that kind of way because it does seem quite like you might be judged for those sort of feelings
mm,
or those experiences. So I think that sounds like absolutely fantastic. And I will get you to remind us at the end of the session about your next one that you've got coming up. I'll get you just to sort of share those details, but we'll do that at the end.
sure.
People can remember and note it all down. Um, so
Right.
um, so tell me a little bit more about how the meditation and also the manifesting kind of you feel like how that can help support creative business owners and in growing their business, establishing their business, and kind of seeing them through those tough times. I guess like how do you see that those kind of practices really help support that well
Mm.
that entrepreneurial lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, God, they help so much. I mean, they help me no end. They're really like two anchors, really. Manifestation and meditation are two anchors in my life that help me really. And I guess I've always feel like I just want to share, how it's helped me. And I feel like manifestation has kind of had a bit of a resurgence recently. It's become quite trendy, I think. Not that
I've
I'm on
definitely seen
TikTok or
more of it
anything like that.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all like it's out in the ether a bit more, but it's obviously been around, for a long time. People might have heard of like the book The Secret and things like that. But for me, manifestation is a self-development practice. Actually, it's something that you should do, or maybe doing without realizing every day, really. And it's really about kind of building daily rituals, like your daily wellness, support yourself, working, through what I call your shadow. So, like looking at how you talk to yourself, kind of watching your thoughts, and being aware of, how you're treating yourself, and also something called kind of raising your vibration. So things like, doing things that you like, that kind of light you up, that bring you joy, that bring you creative joy, and they're kind of the main things, really. So often people think manifestation is just, you wish for something to happen and then magically it will just appear. But really what it
Magic
is,
wand, yeah. If only
yeah,
you
I mean,
could.
that would be,
That would be
yeah,
nice.
that would be lovely. That would be lovely. But really it's just a way of setting kind of actionable steps, in which is obviously very, akin to, running a business. So, people, an example of what people could do is perhaps write down for the month some goals you want to achieve, or maybe for the next 3 months, 6 months, and actually working out like how do I want to get there, what steps do I want to do. For example, I don't know, for example, say you wanted to, this is slightly different from business, but say you wanted to manifest, a trip to Paris, instead of just thinking, I want to manifest a trip to Paris and just waiting it to happen. But then, for example, you see lots of competitions coming up on Instagram or on the internet of win a trip to Paris. Like, actually, the actionable step is, this is a simple example, obviously, but you would,
Yeah, I think it would
enter
help
that
to explain.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, enter that competition or enter exactly, or I feel like it's not just kind of up there, like I said, in the ether. Actually, it's actionable steps, and it's a nice way to kind of break down what you want out of your business and be really focused.
Yeah, no,
And
I really agree with that.
yeah,
I do a lot of goal setting. I guess I've never
right,
thought about it in terms of manifesting before, but yeah, I do a lot of that kind of actually writing things down and saying, what do I actually
right,
really want out of the next few months
mm,
or the year? And
yeah,
I think it's I guess I do like a little bit of journaling as well, so I guess it's a little bit
right,
similar to that, isn't it? In that,
yeah,
you if you don't, I guess if you, for me, I find if I don't focus on specifics, I just drift.
hmm,
And
yeah,
you get comfortable, don't you? And you're like, oh, it's everything is fine. But
mm,
I think it's human nature, isn't it, to always want that next step or that next goal. And I'm not saying that it necessarily has to be financial or anything like that, but
yeah,
things that you actually would really love to happen for you, and in terms of,
mm,
I don't know, like, sort of how well respected your business is, how well known it is, and things like that, often mean a lot more to me than going, oh, well, I've met my financial goals that course.
exactly. Yeah, definitely. And also I'd see it as like a way of just getting to know yourself, but just knowing, like, what makes you happy, what you really want. Like you said, actually it might not be financial goals, it might be, hitting a different sort of target, like X
Mhm.
amount of, downloads on your podcast, etc.
Yeah,
So I think it's, just using it. And I use it personally just to kind of check in with myself every day. So kind of, like I said, that daily ritual, making sure I move my body every day, I journal every day, I meditate every day, and doing all those things. As well as, another big pillar of manifestation is visualization. The practice that I really like to do is every morning just visualize how I want my day to look, how I want my day to not only look, but also how I want my day to feel. If I've got a big meeting or a big, project that I'm working on, just how I want my day to go. And I honestly, Kate, I feel like it makes, well, I know it does, but makes such a difference to my day when I actually do that. And, there's so much science around the power of visualization. Sports
I'm
coaches will
really
train
interested in it. I
the
haven't really
elite.
done any of it myself, but I'm really interested in it since you briefly mentioned it, I think, at the hub. And yeah, so sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you then, but I just say I'm really
Yeah.
interested in how that can affect the way you feel about your day and the knock-on effect of just positivity before you even begin. I think it's
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
interesting. Sorry, I let you go on. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't interrupt you then, but
No.
I find
All
it really
good.
fascinating. And yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. A really simple practice that, that you or your listeners can do straight away is just, like I said, either in the morning, or say if you've got a particular important, like, meeting or a pitch, just before you go into it, take some nice deep breaths in and out through the nose, and just visualize how you want that pitch, for example, to go. Like, how do you want to feel in your body when you're delivering, the content? How do you want them to react? And even just that, it just gets your nervous system in the right frame of mind, and it puts you in that positive, puts you in that positive place before you've even walked in the room. So that's a really simple one. Or even before, before your day starts. And I also do it before bed. I do it twice a day. I do it in the morning and in the evening. I also, if there's big things I want, just how I really want my business to look in 10 years, I visualize it before I go to sleep. It helps you fall asleep quite
Yeah,
nicely.
yeah.
But it's quite nice to imagine. I think, obviously, I'm a bit of a dreamer, as you probably can tell, but it's nice to just imagine, like, what that would look like. What, for example, like, your business premises might look like in 10 years, like what you'll be doing in your day to day. I just find it powerful, but also quite soothing. So I would really advise people just to maybe just start
I'm going to
dabbling
start.
and
I'm going to start.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go. I'm really interested in it, and
good.
I've really started to realise that given the opportunity, my thoughts do tend to run away with me, and I think trying to guide my thoughts a
Mm,
bit more and also just focus on more positive things Rather, I think,
Yeah.
I don't know about most people, but I think, you get into bed at night and like the first things that come to mind are the things that you've like messed up in the day, or like the bad things,
Oh,
not the positive things. And I'm trying
mm,
really hard not to do that, because I don't think it's very healthy just generally, but also just to kind of try and change my mindset a little bit around reviewing my day so that it's focused on positivity, not negativity. And
yeah.
I really beat
Yeah.
myself up. Like if I do something stupid or like silly, or I haven't managed to do something in quite the way that I envisaged, like I'm terrible at
Mm,
focusing on that. And in some way, and sometimes it's good because it drives me to do better next time. But I also don't think that it's good to kind of frame mistakes in that way, and to actually just sort of see
mm,
them as a part of the learning process. And
yeah.
when you're working for yourself, because you don't always have that kind of sounding boards with people, you
Mm,
you do
mm.
tend to kind of probably beat yourself up more than any colleague would if they were sitting next to you, or you know.
Yeah.
So we are like our own worst colleagues. I think going to work with like the worst people that you can that you never want to
Yeah.
work with, and I think yeah, just sort of reframing that. And yeah, as I say, focusing on the positive, at the end of the day,
Oh,
not the negative.
definitely. Definitely, and it's a few things that kind of that made me think of hearing you say that. But firstly, you're not normal. I do I do the same, and it's hard because as humans we have this negative bias to always focus on the negative. That's why it helps us helps us back in the day to run away from lions and tigers. It helps us to remember that stuff, but it can be really powerful to focus on the positive thoughts. And the practice that I like to do before bed is a quick journaling exercise. I write down something that I want to let go of from the day. So, you're allowed to have these negative thoughts. I always think something I want to let go of, something that's,
Mm.
annoying me, or something I messed up in. And then also things that I'm grateful for. And that's another thing about manifestation, actually just recognizing what went well in your day. And it really can help switch. If you do the negative first and then the positive, it really helps. You need to do it in the morning as well. It's a lovely exercise to do. And yeah, it really does help kind of turn your day around, and it helps you recognize, even you can be grateful for like how good your coffee tasted this morning,
Yeah.
or or a
Yeah,
lovely email you got,
small things
or
I think are really
yeah.
they really affect us though, don't they? Especially first thing in the morning for me, I find, because I'm definitely more
Mm,
alert, and I work much better
mm,
in the mornings. I know not everybody's like that, but I am definitely somebody
yeah,
that
I'm the
by like
same.
the afternoon I'm like, oh, I'm a bit done with this day now, which is why I never
Yeah,
do anything,
same.
which is why I never tend to do anything important kind of after 3 o'clock. Because
Yeah,
I know that my focus is kind of gone by then. But
yeah.
actually, this like kind of leads me on a bit to asking you really what obviously you've given us a little bit of an insight about what you do every day, using your own practices. But what how much time do you spend on these? Like, what is your kind of typical pattern to your day? I mean, I know we all have different days when we're doing different things,
Mm,
but are there some like hard sort of rules that you like? This is I have to do this every day, or are you a bit more
mm.
flexible, or how does it kind of work for you?
Yeah, I've kind of developed over the time. I've kind of tried different things, being quite strict and then being not. But like, I kind of feel like I've got a quite good balance now. So I feel like I will. One thing I'll always try and do before my day actually starts is to prioritize myself. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can take me, if I've got a nice slow morning, I can do it. Take 2 hours. Sometimes if I've got an early client, I'll do it in 10 minutes. But for me, I like to sit and meditate, maybe do a little bit of journaling, and then maybe like move my body. And that sometimes that can literally just be a minute of breathing and then maybe a few stretches, or sometimes that can be a 20-minute meditation, and like a full class. But I like to try, and it's hard because sometimes you just want to jump on an email or do this, but I try and prioritize that first. And also a walk. I like to walk in nature every day, but that can sometimes come throughout the day. But I always try and spend the morning just being quiet, asking myself, how am I doing today? But we ask people all the time, how are you doing? How are you doing? We never ask, very rarely ask ourselves. So ask myself, how am I feeling today? Take some time to breathe or meditate, and then maybe move my body a little bit. And that just sets me up for the day. And, generally my day, I'll have, clients. Generally I see the clients in the morning or around lunchtime. So I'll kind of maybe from like mid morning to lunchtime. And then I have the afternoon to kind of work on, anything that I'm writing on, or any content, or kind of writing up client notes, or prepping for events. And then for like occasionally ad hoc, I'll have like events in the evening, or sometimes I do see one-on-one clients in the evenings. That's kind of my day really. But I've last year I've tried to mold my day as much. I don't know about you, but often you think, you'll take work, and actually think that's not my ideal day. Why am I doing that? So I've thankfully finally got to a point where I'm like, actually, what does my ideal day look like? And this is it. And I try and fit clients around that, and actually try and mold my week. That's the beauty of being, a freelancer. You have to make it work for you, right?
Yeah, or you might be working. Might as well be working for somebody else again, mightn't you? And
exactly.
I'm kind of similar in that I absolutely have to get outside every day. I find if I don't there are odd few days where I do end up sitting at the computer all day. That's just life sometimes. But I always feel rubbish afterwards, and I've got my dog, so I don't have a lot of choice. I have to get out because of the dog, which is really good because I've got a living, breathing creature to look after that requires me to go outside. So, but yeah, so I think I find it, I kind of get that jumble of thoughts out of my head when I'm walking. And then when I do come in and I sit down at the computer, I'm much more focused, and I've kind of made all the big decisions in my head about what I'm going to do. And then it actually is really, really quick. Whereas if I don't do that, I find that I do a lot of sort of stop kind of things, and I end up maybe procrastinating a little bit, and I find that it's really helpful for me to kind of get that jumble out, and I think I make better decisions because I'm not getting up and then straight away sitting at the computer sort of tapping away. And I think because I am quite a let's just get things done kind of person, and it actually makes me think about things more carefully, which I think is something that I recognise in myself that I don't always do. So I do need to, I think it's really, really helped to start having that routine where I do my morning walk, and then I do my sort of straight after lunch walk as well. And I do find that it just makes me more effective when I'm actually working. So I do fewer hours, but I work better.
Yes. Something I've realised recently is actually you don't have to. And that's the thing. Once upon a time I used to try and do like a proper 9 to 5. Be like, well, I'm self-employed, but I'm going to try and do a 9 to 5. I don't know why was I doing that? But actually, I'm the same. If I have yesterday, for example, I knew I had to get 2 things. I had to write this article, and I also had to prep something else. And I thought, I've got the afternoon. I can actually just try and focus for 2 hours. I took myself out of the house, which actually also helps. I find that actually if I go to a cafe, it helps me work better. And I literally managed to, bash it out in 2 hours. And actually, it doesn't have to be. That's the beauty of being self-employed. We can, actually, it feels sometimes I feel guilty for doing less hours, but actually, you're just working in a different way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about finding the right routine for you. I mean, I've spoken about this on I can't remember if it was my podcast or my blog post now, but I've spoken about routine before, and the importance of finding your own routine that works best for you, not trying to shoehorn yourself into somebody else's perception of how many hours you should be working, when you should be working them. Obviously, there's like life things like I've got to do the school runs at certain times every day and things like that, but effectively I've only got myself to blame if I'm doing things at times when I don't want to be doing them. I think I've really realized at the moment that actually no, I'm going to protect my walk times. I'm going to protect those times and say I'm not going to take client calls then, or I'm not going to do client work then. I need that to be able to be effective for my clients, to be be there for them. So I think you can go around in circles in your head a little bit with it, but I think creating a routine that works. And also are you a Julia Cameron fan with The Artist's Way?
Oh, yes.
So I was having a conversation over this actually, funny enough, I think it was in the Facebook group, in my Facebook group. And we're saying about the artist dates, where you create that time just creative. And when I read that book, it was like a massive light bulb moment for me. And it was a long time ago that I read it. I think it was long before I actually had my own business, funnily enough. But it's really stayed with me, that creating that special time that you protect, and that you only do. So like every day on a Friday, I make sure that I have at least 2 hours of creative time that's just protected.
Lovely.
Sometimes it's like for the business. Sometimes it's like learning a new skill or technique, maybe with my camera, or but often it's just doing something for me that's not at all business related. And it seems quite indulgent when you're doing it on what is technically a work day.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but you know what? It's made such a massive difference to my creativity and how I channel it. And I used to find it really hard to kind of do creative things when I wasn't feeling in the zone. If that makes sense? Um,
Yeah, completely,
but
completely.
I found that since I make sure that I do it almost like it's a task to tick off, and I know that sounds like counterintuitive, like being creative, but
No, not at all.
um,
Not at all.
I find since I protect that time now, that actually I find that I don't have to kind of specifically be in that mindset to be able to create anymore. That actually I can kind of tap into that a lot more quickly and easily than I did before I started to have that blocked out time. And it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the way your mind kind of creates these constructs for these things. But and I know it doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but it's really worked for me anyway, having that protective time around just doing
I
things,
love
the
that.
creative joy of it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, Kate. I'm going to put that in my
Yeah,
diary. I think I do
do.
it occasionally, but I'm going to start doing it
Yeah.
every week because I think it's so important. So
Let
important.
yourself like
Yeah, I
enjoy
love
the
that.
moment. Yeah, and like sometimes I like paint or draw. Sometimes I sometimes I get the camera out. Sometimes I just go for a walk somewhere that I haven't been before, or uh,
Lovely.
just something. It doesn't have to be anything kind of particularly wild or exciting, but just
Yeah, lovely.
just feeding into that kind of creative part of you. I think is really important.
Oh, I love that. It's
Mm.
beautiful. Yeah, okay, right. I'm putting that in the diary. Great. Thank you for that.
Oh, lovely. So I think I'm going to kind of coming towards the end of some of my questions, but I guess what I'd really like to know is like, where do you feel like some of the biggest hurdles with entrepreneurs? I mean, we spoke about a few about sort of self-sabotaging a lot of the time, isn't it, and things like that.
Mm,
But what do you feel like some of like the manifestation or the meditation practices, like what are some of the biggest sort of hurdles do you feel like those can address for people? I guess it's just because like, obviously I think a lot of my listeners are like struggling with lots of different things, but I guess a
mm,
lot of commonalities with certainly creative personalities, I guess,
mm.
that often kind
Yeah.
of come up. And how would you kind of approach that?
Yeah, so I guess quite a lot, really. I think we mentioned the stress and anxiety earlier. Obviously,
Mm,
any meditative
mm,
action you can do will help, really bring that down. But also just making decisions. It's so hard, when you're working for yourself to kind of not have someone always to bounce off of, but bounce back, bounce back ideas. So I think it really helps just to kind of manifestation in particular and meditation, it's a chance to kind of just tune in all the time. It's like, what do I want, what do I need, what's important to
mm,
me. It's helping you just make decisions and tune into that kind of intuitive voice. And also, like as you mentioned earlier, sometimes we can be our own worst colleagues, and it really encourages you to just to be, it sounds a bit cringy, but to be kinder to yourself, and actually, like an exercise that I do every Friday actually is kind of write down my work achievements from the week, almost like in
a
like
really good
almost
idea.
like a manager would do. Yeah, and it really helps. Sometimes
I
you
should
can look back
totally do
at it
that.
and be like, yeah, honestly, it's such a lovely practice that I've really enjoyed it, and that's part of manifestation. It's like actually recognizing what you've done well and kind of patting yourself on the back. I even give myself like 3-month reviews, Kate. Yeah, I actually do.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
actually
Oh, I think
do.
it's a great idea. Yeah.
I put it in the diary, and it really helped me, like, right, what hasn't worked, what has worked, what do I want to achieve. So I think it's a mixture of like the stress and anxiety, making decisions, and like getting to know yourself better and what you want, and also just
Mm.
learning to sing your own praises. And I think they're all quite important things. When you're going out, it's tough being a creative in this world. It's tough
Yeah.
being you're head of your own business. So hopefully, and I know it from my clients so far, that they all really help. So even just a little sprinkling of them in your day, I think will really just
Really, really good advice.
anchors you. Yeah,
Really good advice. Thanks so much, Emily. So I think
pleasure.
what we're going to move into now is that you've very kindly agreed to give a little meditation exercise now. For all the listeners.
Yeah.
It's going to be so great because it's on the podcast. You can go back and listen to it every time you need a bit of Emily magic in your life. So I think I'm
Right.
going to hand over to you, and I will promise I'll be quiet despite my
All good.
my terrible. I can't sit still, and I'm gonna do it this time. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to hand over to you to do that, and then at the end, we'll just give a little bit of a recap about how you can find out about all of Emily's amazing offerings and services. But I think we're just going to enjoy the little meditation right now. So I'll hand over to you,
Lovely.
Emily.
Thank you, Kate. So this is a lovely practice just to invite a little bit more inner peace and inner calm. And what I really advise is just making sure you're in a really comfortable seat. You can sit upright in a chair, or if you feel cold, you've got a space you can lie down, you can get into bed or lay on the sofa, whatever you feel called to do. And as Kate mentioned, it's great that it's on the podcast. You can revisit this meditation at any time that you feel like you need a little bit more peace and quiet in your life. Okay, so making sure you find that comfortable seat or laying down, resting your hand either on your lap or by your sides, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your arms, and you can either just soften your gaze or close down your eyes. And all I'd like you to do to begin, everyone, is just start to notice your breath. So without, focusing your breath or thinking you have to come into, a meditation breath, just start to focus on your breath as it comes in and as it comes out. And you may find as we go through the start of this meditation or throughout that your brain might be quite busy and you might be thinking about various things, but that's okay. Kind of the beauty and the joy of meditation is just actually allowing those thoughts. Often we think we need to quieten the thoughts, and obviously that's a part of meditation, but really it's a chance to just observe the thoughts and realize, how busy the mind is, or, what thoughts are coming in and out. So if you find a thought comes in, just see if you can notice it and then just bring your focus gently but firmly back to the breath. Okay, so we're going to start to deepen the breath now. So I want you to breathe in and out through the nose. And see if you can start to just lengthen your exhales and lengthen the out breath. And just notice already the shift that creates. Just lengthening the exhale breath. So we're inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And as you breathe in and out, just if you can, and it might feel quite a new practice, just notice how you feel. Notice whatever sensations, maybe feelings are in the body. Notice any kind of emotions that you're experiencing, and everything that you're experiencing is okay, is valid. There might be a lot or a little going on for you. So just notice, take this moment as a chance to check in with how you're feeling today. Still breathing nice and deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. Good. Just staying here for a little bit longer. All right, let's take a nice deep breath in together through the nose, holding at the top. So inhale. Just hold the breath here for 3, 2, 1. Breathe out through the mouth, let it go. Nice and long. 2 more like this. Inhaling through the nose. Holding for 3, 2, 1. Exhaling out through the mouth. Letting go whatever came up. 1 more time. Inhaling. Holding for 1, 2, 3. And exhaling. Let it go. And now just bring your breath back to coming in and out through the nose. Nice and deeply. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a brief body scan, and we're going to start from the feet and make our way all the way up to the top of the head. And just continue to breathe nice and deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. And all I'm going to ask you to do, everyone, is when I name a body part, is just take your focus there. So just take your focus into that body part. And when we allow our focus to drift into the body, it allows that part of the body to relax and to soften. So continuing to breathe really nice and deeply. Take your focus now down into your feet. Take your focus down into your feet. And from there, taking your focus to your ankles, to your calves, the back of your calves, to your shins, to your knees, the back of your knees, to your thighs. Underneath your thighs are your hamstrings, your hips, your glutes. So the whole of your lower half now should hopefully start to feel a little bit softer, a little bit more relaxed, maybe a little bit heavy too. Continuing to breathe nice and deeply in and out. Taking your focus now to your belly, to your chest. Let's take it up to the shoulders, taking your focus to your back. So it's feeling into your back, all the way down to your kind of the bottom of your spine and back to your hips. Now taking your focus back to your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, the lower arms, the wrists, the hands. So pretty much your whole lower body now should feel just a little bit softer. Taking your focus back up to your neck now, the front and back of your neck, your jaw, your face or your cheeks, the area between your eyebrows themselves, the eye sockets, the forehead, and the very top of the head. So we've brought our focus into the body, and hopefully the mind has become a little bit quieter as a result. And we're going to finish with those 3 deep breaths that we did just a moment ago. So when you're ready, taking a deep breath in through the nose, holding 3, 2, 1, exhaling out through the mouth, relax the jaw. 2 more here, inhaling, hold 3, 2, 1, exhaling, let it go. Last one here, breathing in, holding 3, 2, 1, exhaling, let it go. Good. And just bring the breath back to your normal pace, normal rhythm. And we're going to slowly start to come back into the room. So you might want to maybe give your hands and feet a little wiggle, maybe roll the shoulders back and down, maybe even a stretch of the arms above your head, maybe a little rock of the head side to side, whatever you feel called to do. And when you're ready, you can just come back into the room and open the eyes. Okay.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Emily.
How are you feeling, Kate?
Good. Do you know what's really nice? Because we're coming to the end, and I'm going to go and do what I said, my little artist creative time, and that has put me totally in the right kind of frame of mind for that. Thank you.
Good. You're so welcome. It always amazes me how simple it is just to breathe and bring focus to the body, how different you feel. Like it's really, I really encourage people to notice now, how do you feel now compared to how you felt at the start of that meditation?
I can definitely feel that my pulse rate is down, and I just because I think I had a bit of nervousness about doing my first interviewing podcast, and that's just really helped just kind of bring that out. And I know that I just feel a little bit less like anxiety about it has just dissipated a bit, and it's been really, thank you, it's really valuable exercise, so thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
So thank you so much. That was the perfect end to our chat. I just wanted to recap and just remind people that you've got your next full moon circle coming up on the 14th of July. Just remind everybody the details of that one for me.
Yes. So that's a lovely, full moon circle, the 14th of July at the Mount Without in Bristol, in central Bristol. And it's an evening of meditation, journaling, just rest and relaxation. And it's an hour and a half. It's from 7:30. And you can book it through my website, So I'll give you the details of those in a bit. So that's great. I've also got a course actually as well, starting in September. It's an online course called Up Level, and it's basically helping people to release any blocks that they've got with their manifestation work, and it includes like one-on-one sessions with me, how-to videos, and practices that can last you for a lifetime. So that's starting in September. So all the details for that on my website as well.
Okay, fantastic. And just remind us what your website is and where we can find you on the web generally, your socials.
Yeah, so you can find me at thelunarcircle.com, and Lunas is LUNA circle.com, and then my Instagram is Lunar Circle Wellness.
Fantastic.
That's
Thanks, Emily. I will put all of that in the show notes, so you can click on the link to those. But yes, do go and follow Emily on Instagram, because she gives some fantastic stuff on there as well. Always really beautiful to look at as well, as really, really valuable content. So go and do that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Emily. I really, really appreciate you taking your time to come and talk to me today. And I just know that all the listeners are going to find everything that you've spoken about today really, really valuable, and lots of food for thought for me as well. So thank you for that. I feel like I've had a little one personal session almost today. I'm like, I'm going to go and try all these things.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Kate. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Take care.